This is for those people who have done the work, right? You've got an awakening of some sort and you've been doing the work, whether that's courses or books. I have a question for you. Why are you still doing it? Why do you still say yes when you want to say no? Why does that same kind of relationship still pull you in? And why do you still question yourself when you know you're capable? This one was the hardest for me because the doubt really would take over at times. And why does that fear come back when you know you've already worked on it? This one wasn't as big for me, but it has been for other people that I've worked with. And maybe the most frustrating part is you know you're doing it while you're doing it. And I just want to make sure my microphone's on. And that's where it can start to hurt in just a completely different way. Because now you don't just have the pattern, you judge yourself for still having the pattern. How many have judged themselves for having the pattern? Man, I did that for the longest time. Beat myself up. You think, I know better than this. I've taken the courses, I've done the freaking certifications. I've already worked on this. Why am I still choosing people who can't meet me? Why am I still afraid to say what I actually want? Why am I still looking for approval when I know I shouldn't need it? And after enough years of doing the work, you can start wondering, what am I missing? Like, what am I really missing? And you look at things and you think maybe this is just who I am. And that's the part that I want to talk about today. Because I don't think the fact that you can still feel an old pattern means all that work failed. I think there's a distinction we haven't been making. You see, there was a point in my own work where I had enormous amounts of awareness. I could find the belief, I knew them, I could understand where it came from, I could recognize the pattern. I could tell you what happened in childhood and how that experience influenced the way I was showing up today. For me, strength and independence was always that persona that I showed up as, and I knew exactly why. And all of that awareness mattered. But there was a problem because I was still inside it. You see, insight and liberation aren't the same thing, because I'll tell you right now, we've done so much work. If freedom meant that, if freedom was based on the amount of insight we'd have, we'd all be like free as a bird, flying in the sky. Insight and liberation aren't the same thing. And that's the distinction I want you to hear. You can understand the pattern and still be identified with the person that pattern helped create. All right, let me give you an example. Maybe you've always been the strong one, like myself. You know exactly why. And you know there were times in your life when you couldn't depend on other people. You've worked on it. You journaled about it. I'm really good at journaling about it. You've forgiven people. You think you've forgiven people. It was really about forgiving yourself. You understand it intellectually. And then someone offers to help you, and before you even thought about it, you say, no, I'm good. I'm good. And there it is. The awareness is there, but so is the automatic identity. I'm the one who handles things. And this is where I think we need to separate two things: insight and liberation. All right? Because insight says, I understand why I became this way. But liberation begins when you say, I can see this, but I don't have to automatically become it. See, that's a different position. I understand why I became this way. I can see it, and I don't have to become it. That's a totally different position, because it's incredibly difficult to see an identity when you're still looking at your life through it. Right? It's difficult to see an identity when you're still looking at your life through it. And if I'm completely identified as the strong one, asking for help doesn't merely feel like an option I don't prefer. It doesn't feel like me. If I'm the good girl, disappointing someone doesn't simply feel uncomfortable. It can feel fundamentally wrong. If I'm the caretaker, choosing myself can feel selfish, because it's incredibly difficult to see an identity when you're still looking at your life through it. And this is why I'm talking so much about the witness. The witness set me free once I was able to really move through it. And the witness is the part of you capable of making that, oh, there it is. That's the strong one. That's the good girl. That's the part of me that thinks that I need their approval. And then something profound happens in that distinction. The moment that you can see an identity, you no longer have to see only from that identity. So I want to give you something very simple to practice. The next time one of your familiar patterns show up, don't immediately ask, why am I doing this again? Because you probably answered that question 100 times, like I've done, maybe more. I want you to ask, what am I believing about who I have to be right now? And don't judge yourself. Don't shame it. Don't argue with it. Just witness it. Maybe you'll come up with, I believe that I have to keep everybody happy. I believe that I have to be strong, because if I'm not, I won't be. I believe I can't disappoint anyone. I believe I have to prove myself. Because once you ask that question, now you move from, this is who I am, to, this is someone I can see. And that little bit of space matters, because inside that space, there is the possibility of discernment. And once there's discernment, you can make a different choice. That's what discernment allows you to do, is to see it and to make a different choice. You see, because you can't see the truth if you can't identify the conditioning. So if you've done the years of work like I started with, and you're still experiencing those old patterns, I don't want the immediate conclusion to be that something must be wrong with me. Because maybe the next step isn't more information about the pattern. Maybe it's just learning to recognize the identity from which you've been seeing it. Because freedom doesn't mean an old pattern never speaks again. It means it no longer gets the vote. I'm Donna. I'm a witness. And this is the work that I explore here, learning to distinguish the conditioning you've accumulated from that signal underneath. That signal is when you're connected who you are, your truth. And if this resonates with you, I would love for you to subscribe, give me a like. And I'm going to continue to talk about this because it so profoundly changed my life. Once I was able to see I was in this conditioning trying to change the conditioning. Once you get that, I'll tell you, you're going to see yourself from a different perspective and you're going to be able to settle into that place, that truth of who you are. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you on the next one.